Greetings and salutations, friends, and welcome back to Truth Seekers. Tonight is a sort of special Truth Seekers because, I am always complaining. You all know this. I'm complaining about the lack. There's 100,000 new UFO shows and podcasts focused on UFOs, but so few of them care about important things that are important to me. Things like evidence and facts and questioning people when they make statements or when they do research by proclamation. For some time now, people have been sending me links to tonight's guest, and that would be the host of Strange Recon Podcast. And certainly some of our guests have been guests there recently, including Steve Long and Jeremy McGowan, our past guests, I should say. And so I've been checking out his show, and I have to agree with my audience. There's at least some other decent content out there, people who care about facts and evidence. He's got an interesting background, and I wanted to bring him here, and you guys know how I do this. I could talk to him off air for a while, but I thought, why do that? We'll bring him right here, and this is really our first conversation. We're going to do it publicly. He has been looking into a lot of the military side of these things and has some insider knowledge of that. So let's bring him in here. There we go. Jeff from Strange Recon is here, or Turd Ferguson, depending on who you want to. Yeah.
Thank you, Steve, for having me on. I appreciate being here.
Yeah. So why don't you tell me a little bit about your military background, because I'm curious of that. Like, why did you join the military and what did you do in there? Because I think that gives you a unique perspective into some of this stuff that I don't have.
Well, I grew up in southeastern Massachusetts, Bridgewater Triangle area, but I spent most of my time in the woods playing, and there was a lot of war movies growing up. If you recall, all of movies featured major one theme. It was still the hero wore the white hat, the bad guy wore the black hat. We knew who the bad guy was. We knew who the good guy was. Oftentimes they triumphed off in the frontier war. But I just spent most of my time in the woods. And so this isn't a ridiculous statement. I literally felt that one of my best options were in life to do what I just did normally growing up, and which was go tromp around in the woods. So I joined the infantry in 2004. I had a short career. I spent about 6 years as an active service infantryman before I became ill. After I was, let's just say, I was injured and in service, and while I was getting treatment for my injury, I ended up getting a pretty significant disease that only white people get when they're in the Middle East. Middle Eastern people, they're not going to get it. They can literally drink the water flowing through the canal and they're fine. We walk through the water and we get severely sick sometimes. So I was one of those unfortunate. Yeah, I was one of those unfortunate assholes over there that got what they, reap what they sowed. But I spent my time in the infantry. I was in a kind of unique unit. Most people that know the Army know that most infantry units are rather mundane. The infantry is basically like the civilian world. It's like we get what the civilians have. We might get some nice looking stuff, essentially, but our equipment, our level of technology is on par with what civilians have, oftentimes less than what civilians have. And so I was in a pretty interesting unit. We field tested a DARPA program called Land Warrior. It was invented back in 1989, but never really made it around to anything other than the CIA until about 2003. We field tested it. We developed it, Ghost Recon, when they flip that thing down over their eye, and they kind of have that thing over their eye in combat. They can kind of augmented reality type of thing. This is
that's interesting.
Yeah, that's pre that. That's what we did. That's what 4th Battalion, 9th Infantry, right there on the microphone there, did in combat. We developed the Land Warrior system, and it's now called Net Warrior, I believe. It's space the size of a cell phone. These Can I swear? Sorry, I don't.
I stopped, but I know how that is. Do you know what's so funny? I got on a network one time, and I had no idea that they absolutely banned cursing. And I sent them the first episode of mine. It was just filled with F-bombs. And the guy calls me screaming and like getting all upset. And I'm like, I didn't know.
Yeah, actually, so many people from like very successful podcasts have told me that, you know what, you should probably just stop swearing and you'd probably do a lot better and you'd probably make a living at what you're doing. But I can't shut it off.
Yeah,
I am an
had
idiot.
a hard time. I go back and forth. I have a hard time. Ask my audience. Like sometimes I'll get through the whole show. I won't curse once, and then sometimes I just start dropping F-bombs. And then, in my brain I go, I don't care. I'll lose those 50 YouTube pennies. I don't care. I want to drop these F-bombs, right?
I can't recall a time I've heard you swearing on the show. I don't remember.
I used to curse a lot more. I've actively
way back.
Yeah, probably.
That scorching hot blonde woman you had on with back in the paranormal day. What was her name? I forget.
Oh, Rachel. Yeah.
I'm sorry. I shouldn't have described her like that. She was.
Nah, she doesn't mind. She knows she's hot. It's okay.
All right. I apologize. I find women hideous. Anyways, so. Yeah, I was in this little terrible unit, very small unit, not very big. Great guys I served with. They were absolutely warriors. They were amazing. Awful time for U.S. history and war. We all know that. We don't want to get into deep in that. But yes, I field tested this unit or this program, and then I recognized the similarities. What I was hearing a lot, quite often in this whole entire UAP disclosure movement. I started seeing a lot of similarities, and the first thing that tripped me off, the very first thing, God bless his heart, I'm sure he worked really hard for his country, but Lou Elizondo, the very first thing I remember that set me off was these words right here. He was a hero for leaving the military and joining a private company.
Yeah, I didn't like that statement either, or people claiming that, because
yeah, while you're in the military, every soldier hates contractors because you can leave the military and stop making $27,000 a year and suddenly make $250,000 a year like that and quit whenever you want to.
Yeah, I know somebody who worked.
What a hero!
I know somebody that worked for Blackwater as basically infantry.
Academy,
and he did it because he could have did another 4 years in the Army, or he could have gone to them and made 3 times as much money doing the same thing he was doing. So he bounced out and got the private deal.
And this is not even slightly bullshit. Okay, ready? I worked two contracts that lasted no more than, I think, I honest to God, I think 18 weeks was the totality of 2 contracts, and I made more than my entire last 2 years in the Army. So back in the day, the dirty deeds of being a contract soldier in certain ways were rather significant. And now it's kind of scaled down because the wars were ending. And of course, if you look through history, you'll see that after every war ended, all these soldiers needed a place to go. They had one skill set, so the money
fascinated. I'm fascinated by all that stuff because to me, it's like, oh, these are hired gun mercenaries. And, like if you got enough money, you can have your own private army. It's crazy,
For roughly $5,000 a month, you could legitimately have probably 10 extremely elite men working for your monthly, as long as they could live with you right now. And before anyone judges me for that statement, let me just say that, remember, I'm not talking about militias. That's illegal in the sense that you're not declaring yourself a militia. Anyways, but the war ended, and a lot of these soldiers, these operators, had nowhere to go. I know people right now that are still doing contracts that still make a pretty good living, but it's not where it was in 2005 or 6, or 4 rather, where you could literally make $350,000 in 6 months of work. Now it's more like an average salary plus danger pay and all that stuff. And they still make good money, but they're not doing what they did back then, which was,
God bless them. That's dangerous. I wouldn't want to do either of them. I was going to join. I swore I was going to join the Army myself because I was like you. I was always in the woods and stuff. And then I got to see them training soldiers at Fort Dix because it was an open base, and we would ride our bikes to the obstacle course, and sometimes we'd watch them training the soldiers, and they would wait until it was like a horrific downpour of rain for 2 days straight, and then they would make them sleep out in this muddy field. And then I noticed the next year there was a drought. So they got fire hoses and wet down the field and made them. I'm like, nope, I'm not signing up for this. I saw them yelling and screaming at them and being abusive. I was like, no, I can't do that.
Listen, okay, I'm going to say this right now because I do question many of the deeds that have been done. We can acknowledge that, right? Like a lot of conspiracies ended up being true.
Yeah,
to
we're
some
great
degree.
we're great at bombing brown people. That's what we're good at.
Well, I'll tell you, when you start to recognize there's been some dirty deeds done, you can judge that, but you can also recognize that a lot of those brown people actually came to America too to like thrive and make a great life for themselves. And you can see that we are literally the most multicultural in one neighborhood in America is more complex when it comes to backgrounds and heritage than any other country in the world. And so we got to at least give ourselves that, right? For all the fucked up shit we've done, we at least made a habitat, although for some people it's obviously fucking fucked up. But anyways, my point being that for all that I love my country. So like the Chinese invaded tomorrow, you know, I would give up Strange Recon.
No, don't get me wrong. That's my thing. Like if there was a foreign invader, I would sign up in a minute. But I just don't, you know. Yeah, I'm like a lot of Americans. I don't care about what's going on. Even Ukraine, you think I would care about because I'm Polish, and you know they sort of did the same. They're doing the same thing to Ukraine that they did to the Poles. And I have Polish relatives that are hosting Ukrainian families now, just the wives and children, while the men are off fighting. But even still, I don't care. I don't want us involved there. I don't, it doesn't. But if there was a foreign invader on our soil, for sure, that's a justified. Yeah. That would be a justified war.
I'm not gonna lie. I've already read enough defense blogs. I still don't know why we're in Ukraine legitimately. I've seen all the major data hit points that people talk about that, but I just don't I can't for the life of me fathom why. I'm sorry, whatever. Long story short, yes, I agree. Like same thing as you. Yeah. I'm not interested in fucking the crazy. I'm sorry. Shit. I'm sorry. I'm not interested in the crazy, just weird proxy wars that America loves to get in. But if we were invaded, of course, I'd give it up in a second. But that's why I like Strange Recon, because it gives me a platform to recognize where I think kind of the legitimacy and the honor of what's going on there is taken away by maybe sketchy individuals that have power in some of these compartmentalized units or operations that the military has. And that's where I found my place. I was like, as much as I believe a lot of the weird stuff sometimes, because I've seen some extremely strange stuff, every time they seem to talk about aliens, Steven, they seem to be talking about their own technology. It seems to be almost every
track. Yeah, that's the track that I've been on after exhausting all the possibilities. And you and I talked about this a little bit. I have a pet peeve when people go straight to aliens. Well, I can't explain it. Must be aliens.
Yeah.
That's just a huge jump for me. And extraordinary claims, extraordinary proof, and all that kind of stuff.
There seems to be, it's very easy today to just type ET in the Twitter thing, and then next theory would be, military complex or something. I don't like doing my due diligence, and I don't like things out of context. That's the number one thing I think today. I literally think context is the most important lesson all of us can learn, and it's sick. I'm not even kidding. When you hear something on the news, and maybe a more aware person, or dare I say smarter person, I don't know if that's a good idea because I'm an idiot. but I'll say that a smarter person hears it and says, hey, wait a second. They're kind of, they're telling the truth, but it's not necessarily the fact. They're like kind of twisting a little bit to make it sound, to support better. Their argument. Yeah, of course. So, but that happens across a whole full spectrum of news we encounter in our lives. And let's be fair. I don't think any okay. And again, I'm open to see something that's going to change my mind. And I'm saying that right now to everyone listening to this, and of course, Strange Recon, who knows me daily. But I don't think I've quite seen evidence, nor you or anyone else, that should have made you some sort of zealot, offensive mob of we're about to get the secrets. And if you stand in our way, we will we will kill you. Sorry, Steve, I'm sorry.
Yo, by the time we're done this, you're going to owe me like $1.22. I'm just telling you. Oh, and by the way, I wanted to make sure that we do this. So for those of you who have been watching me for a long time, I've talked about it. It's so difficult to do this show thing. And I have a lot of respect for anybody that does it, especially people that are doing it well. So let me put it in the live chat. Here is the link. Here's the link to the chat, to his channel. And he is just, let me see, how many is he away? He needs like 12. Wait.
I lost a bunch of people today.
18.
I lost a bunch of people today. Yeah.
You know, I remember when I was at about your level of subscribers, and it was always like I would go off on some, you know, screaming rant, and then I would see the subscribers go down and like, oh, you know, but after a while, you just got to get a big enough buffer that you could just, I'll say whatever I want and not mind. So I'm putting his channel into, and Sixth Sense is going to, our chat room moderators are going to as well. The channel link is there. He needs just 18 of you to go over there so he can get over the hump. And his microphone is breaking down. His headphones are breaking down. So what we're going to do tonight is whatever super chats that we get tonight, I'm gonna PayPal him any donations to Truth Seekers so that he can fix that.
No, I can't do it.
But we were talking about it. Like, he's going to do this show regardless. So he might as well turn on the money, get monetized. So he'll have a couple of bucks for the things that happen. You know, I knock over microphones. I step on headphones. Look, I have 5 Below headphones. I'm not buying good ones anymore because I step on them all the time. And I got a 5 Below right near my house. I can walk there. So I just I get 5 Below headphones and pile them up. And when they break, they break. Right. And here's Lord Ludicrous Plaid. Cheers to great. Here's a couple of bucks for the swear jar.
Thank you, man. I know that guy. He's the man.
We need you guys to go over to the channel right now. And by the way, I have subscribed. So and we'll refresh it and see how many more does he need. There is more than enough of you. We need 13 more of you to go over there.
I do want to say, I appreciate it big time. I feel super uncomfortable. I can't even take a compliment. So you doing this is like super. I mean, thank you, dude.
Yeah, listen. I remember what the grind was like trying to get to that 1,000, and I was on like PayPal donations, which don't work as well, but we appreciated them. But like you know, the super chats makes everything easy for everybody, and you'll get a lot more income. So we were grinding. And it's difficult. People don't understand that. So, and I also, when I look at the fact that some people who are trying to get to those magic numbers are working harder than the people that already are monetized, it doesn't seem fair to me. We've helped a few people get right over the goalpost when they were close. It's my way of paying it forward because I remember that sucked. I hate it. I was like looking at it every day, like 922, and then I'm not looking at it. I'm going to stop looking at it.
It's been up and down so many times.
3-4 days later, it's like 917. Come on, you know.
No, man. You all those points you said are right. And hey, let's be all fair too. Like, a bunch of people in your chat watch other shows, right?
Yeah,
and you'll notice a theme. What you just said, you hit it right on the head. There's a lot of shows out there that, hey, they're great and they do bring on some guests that you want to hear from. But let's admit it to ourselves that earlier in their days, in the early stages of the show, they were like hound dogs in some way or another, where the truth was just that you couldn't keep them from it. Now they're monetized and they don't really care about exposing the things. They rather care about nepotism and like they'd rather make friends and get on the lecture circuit. And you know, of course, I don't want to fucking specifically, but I will. It's Anyways, but it's just, you know, I appreciate the.
I did want to ask you though. We're hearing this military background. You're working on these special projects for the military, and then let's be clear. Hey, you could say that you
I'm Mulder.
You can in the UFO world, you could just say you were the director of that program. That's how it works. And then if somebody asks you for proof, just say, "Trust me, bro," and you'll be okay. But I did want to ask you, like, how from the military did you get so interested in this strange rabbit hole? And so, because you're stuck in it now, I'm telling you right now, you're stuck.
Okay, so just everyone knows, I'm like a certified weirdo. Okay, so I am 100%. I will host a million conversations from all the most hardcore people that think there is nothing weird about the world at all, and it's just people lying. And I'd be happy to do so because I think they offer a perspective that's just as valuable as someone that's saying they're getting something shoved up their ass. But what I legitimately, I grew up in the Bridgewater Triangle. I don't think. I have before. I don't think I got drunk and almost passed out. It was embarrassing. I don't think that
you should go back.
I don't think they probably had me on for a second, but I just personally, I grew up in the Bridgewater Triangle. I reported a bunch of weird encounters to the people, the paranormal places around me, the small little societies, if you will, that we had back in the late 90s and stuff, in the mid 90s. I legitimately had a bunch of weird experiences that I really thoroughly, for years, even still to this day, will not give up on the idea of debunking them myself. But then I found out after reading some other people's encounters that I wasn't having anything unique. The Bridgewater Triangle hosts a bunch of very plasma-like orb encounters, large black triangle encounters. Maybe they're flying out of Otis Air Force Base. There is an Air Force Base right over there. I don't know. I used to call it as a child and accuse them of having a very crazy stealth black triangle because I saw one up close to my mother. I'm not even shitting you when I say that I thought a large black triangle was going to fall on our heads, and my mother ran for her life. The whole idea that you'd freeze if you see a UFO, I promise you, my mother looked up and said, "Holy shit," and ran as fast as possible. She didn't stop, and look, we thought something was going to fall on our heads because a black triangle was. Anyways, but I also, over the years, recognized the other side of the coin, which is unfortunate, usually the cleaner side. And that is when you start to dig into these individuals making large claims, leading into almost empires of like entertainment work, you start to recognize that, holy shit, there is people in. Oh, damn it! There's people in this field. I'll send you money. I'll Google you money. There's people in this field that legitimately will ride off of non-facts for so long that they become almost inbred in the DNA of the next generation, and you can't, for the life of you, shake the people out of it when you say, hey folks, like, we had vehicles that went 15,000 miles an hour, believe it or not. We actually played them on TV when astronauts came down in a plane to some degree. I'm sorry.
I have a huge problem with the claim. I hear this claim all the time. People say, they say, well, this object was traveling at 5,000 miles an hour, and we just don't have anything that will go that fast. And I think you better get some books on aircraft history and you know, look at what we have, because and they never have the accompanying data to support the argument. I'm kind of a computer science nerd, so I'm a data guy. I want to see the data. Show me the radar tapes. Show me some indication that your statement is factual, but they never have it. It's always, trust me, bro. Well, you know,
that's the problem, because I'm such a weirdo that I like so much of this stuff that I want these people to present something. And I'm sorry, Gary Nolan. Listen, I've sat down with a bunch of people that that's their entire hobby, is to look through white papers and peer review. So when they look at Gary Nolan's stuff and they're just like, well, he looked at some fake alien mummy thing. He's made a couple claims about UFOs and some sort of brain mutation thing. But like, ultimately speaking, we don't have this massive wealth of data that allegedly has convinced so many people. It's can we both admit this to ourselves? When you see people that have extremely large followings, to some degree, extreme credibility and credentials, and they just repeat what someone has said without truly knowing if it's true or not, as if it's fact, as scary. I don't know if scary is the right word, but suspicious as fuck. Oh.
There is also this crazy, you know, I was kind of shocked at the number of big UFO celebrities that use sources that are extremely problematic. You know, like, well, okay, that guy said that he fought aliens in space, but he's also a child molester. You know, like, maybe he's not a credible person that you should just believe because he has no evidence, just a story. Or people use sources. David Wilcock is my favorite.
I'm sorry. Can I interrupt you? I'm sorry, Stephen. Are you referring to like the Netflix hero there? Who are you talking about with that one?
Oh, I mean, like, you know, some of these people using sources that are really problematic. David Wilcock is one of my favorites. He always says his favorite whistleblower is this guy named Pete Peterson that worked for the government, and we did a whole spread on him.
Yeah.
Never worked for the government, And he had a bio that was ridiculous. He worked for Ronald Reagan. He worked for the Russian space program. He was an Order of Lenin award winner from the Russian Space Federation. All these things, we looked into each one, and every one of them was a fabrication. So David Wilcock did zero vetting, and he made millions of dollars selling that guy's stories, telling his stories in books at UFO conferences, and it's just amazing to me. Like, how do you do that, right?
I hear it all the time, and I got to be real. I've watched some pretty large platforms right here on YouTube and other places where the person I've seen, they said, "Oh, the person on there is a Army Ranger for okay, they deployed in a Ranger battalion." So I'd ask the person, "What unit were you in?" Expecting to hear one of the very few options they could have had to say, because of course the unit, like if someone claims they're a Ranger, they only have a few options to say where they came from. This is how they answer. "I was in the Sandbox Battalion. That's enough said. When I saw Bigfoot, I pissed myself." So it's like I started recognizing that there's a whole fleet of people that just never really looked into the credentials of individuals. And are you referring to Alejandro Rojas's case back in the day?
Well, Alejandro Rojas sold Wendell Stevens. There was a well-known UFO researcher, older guy named Wendell Stevens. He was involved in the Billy Meyer case. Alejandro Rojas bought his collection of UFO photos and was hyping those up for a while. I'm like, that's great. You got a collection of UFO pictures from a child molester. I don't know about Alejandro.
I nailed it.
Wow. So maybe, I'll have to look into Alejandro Rojas's page.
No.
Okay,
I meant the people.
The people he works with or he uses for sources. Yeah, they all milk these extremely problematic people. We've got Third Phase of Moon using criminals to narrate their videos now. Convicted criminals with terrible, there's a guy right now who is narrating Third Phase of Moon videos who faked terminal cancer and stole gift certificates from his own cancer benefit. And this is just okay,
All right, I have one message to that guy. Hey, mister, quit stealing my moves. No, okay, that's not funny. Norm McDonald, ladies and gentlemen.
It's crazy.
Hit the bell and subscribe. Hey, everyone in the chat, Christopher Vieira lives down the street with me. I just drank like 10 beers with him before I came on. I feel like an idiot for doing so.
Oh.
Have you ever actually stopped and think about like the idea of how many people have found a home in ufology to sell something?
Yeah.
Like when I first came here, I'm sure you as well to some degree, like you just thought you were going to start up. You were an observer. You were a good observer. You harvested the information, and good or bad, weird or not, you went where the evidence lied. And sometimes the evidence by scale lies way more on the side of, hey, why are you lying? Or why are you misleading the public? Or why are you misconstruing the content so bad that it looks like it's something else? Like you're pretending that the Chinese are aliens. Was that good? But this is a home for that. And I don't know why, because honestly, there's a lot of normal people here that just have experienced or seen something weird, but they're also very critical of what they hear. So they're kind of the best debunkers or the best skeptics, if you will,
Yeah, I didn't mean for my show to be so skeptical. It just naturally, like when I first started, I was all chips in, like, all right, I'm going to get access to these UFO experts, and then I'm going to find out what's really going on here. And we're years later, I'm still, but I have become more and more skeptical, because what I do is I take each person and then I investigate them, because they're the one that are presenting the information, and decide if I think they're credible. And most of the time, you walk away scratching your head going, how did they get away with this? This is crazy that they can say X, Y, or Z. And you're right, stolen valor is a very large part of this, especially the secret space program guys. We've got Randy Kramer, who claims he was a Marine, but he was also a Navy SEAL at the same time. And just these ridiculous things.
Oh my God, I wish it.
And then when you go to the National Personnel Records Center and try to get his records, and you come back empty with nothing, he claims that you don't have a right to know, or you don't have a need to know. So his Marine records are classified.
Well, one of the first things I did was I was looking at, because my search started, and I listen. As much as I disagree with how my former co-host, listen, God bless the guy, whatever. I don't, whatever God bless means, I don't know. But yeah, people say that. Best of luck to the guy. But I started recognizing that like yourself, I started switching the other way. But I almost right away I saw that there was people that were willing to say things and do things that were either stolen valor, downright ruthless, or had something to do with ego that was coming from the most egotistical people I've ever heard in my life. There was like a comment. I've never heard anyone like when someone comes out of a dimethyltryptamine trip and says they've been talking to aliens and they come out and say like this, I am the most unegotistical person on the planet. I'm the most humble person on the planet. No one's more humble than me. Does it sound like like they're living in a reality?
Yeah, and they all have a bloated sense of self-importance. You'll notice that many of them are the UFO messiahs. They're going to bring us disclosure. Stephen Greer, Corey Good,
now
David
we're talking.
Wilcock. David Wilcock says, David Wilcock says that he is the Archangel Michael told him that he's Earth's greatest prophet, even though he gets every psychic prediction almost that he's ever made completely wrong. Like I love that guy. It's a strange form of entertainment for me. Like he posts a new video, I'm all over it, but then sometimes I get so disgusted, I go, I just can't listen to this drivel, and then I go back to it,
Well, I get it totally. Well, you know what I'm going to admit to everyone here, because for a time there was I got really into a lot of esoteric stuff because I was just like, I was super fascinated that not only did these people believe it, but they would spend fortunes on it. So I thought, well, fuck, there must be something to this. I'm sorry, Steven. I swear to God, I'll send you $50 tonight.
No, it's all right. I've wrote this off about a half hour ago.
I can't shut it
off.
I'm
going to just turn it off. I'm just going to turn off the monetization and we'll let it go. It's okay. People will send me a couple of bucks to cover the swear jar. That'll be fine. And he needs just a couple more of you people to go over there. And then we can congratulate him for hitting his magic numbers tonight. So really, if you enjoy evidence-based actual research and somebody that's questioning people's statements, not just accepting things, you should go over there and subscribe to his channel. And I'm happy to do that for him because his shows are all during the day. So they don't mess with me. And what's that saying? I'm real big on that. Like 1,000 lights can be lit from one candle and it doesn't dull the first candle. Some people are extremely competitive, and I guess I am in a certain sense, but I'm real big on helping other people. There's so few people doing what you're doing or what I'm doing. I think that we need more of us to question these people, because imagine if 10 people stood up and said, excuse me, you're a liar, and here's why, every time somebody did it. It would end. But if it's only a couple of voices and getting drowned out,
No, yeah, totally. And
bigger bullhorn wins,
I recognize
Christopher.
Chris.
That'll cover the YouTube pennies.
Well, I just gave Chris $25 in beer, so I don't know why he's giving you $4.99. I was just with him down the street 10 minutes ago. No, you're right. And there's okay, one thing about the swearing thing, this is going to sound ridiculous, right? Because it sounds like no one wants to be explained this as an adult or whatever, because it's just ridiculous. But I've recognized something too, that there is a similarity between those that can have a conversation where there's like a very wide amount of comprehension, and those who can't hear a swear without recognizing or without turning it off. What do I mean by that? So if I say a very real thing, if I say that the United States military in Operation Paperclip had a Sanger Silverfish 2 conceptual craft in design, and they probably flew it. Of course, we would have heard we never flew this thing. But if I say that and say the United States Navy or the military had a mother effing silverfish, most people that can't hear or swear and don't give a shit about the comprehension will just turn it off. They can never contribute to the chat and help me learn anything. They are stuck on grammar, syntax, and a trigger word. I tell a lot of jokes in my show that are extremely offensive for a reason, because I hope the people that hear those jokes turn the hell around and leave.
You're weeding. I thought of it that way myself. So you're weeding out the weaker ones, or the people that I don't know. I'm not. And the other thing is, I think language is like you're real when you're broadcasting. You're not filtering yourself at all. This is just the way that you've spoken your whole life, and that's the way that you speak online. I understand that, but some people. I don't know. I remember when I was cursing a lot more. I had some older woman that was a longtime listener, and she messaged me and said, "Stephen, I really love your show, but I can't listen to it anymore because I watch my grandchildren during the day, and I literally just got this email.
I'm not kidding.
Yeah.
I'm not kidding, man. I just got an email that said one of the best parts about you is you tell it how it is. One of the worst parts about you is that I'm like gardening or cleaning when my kid's around, and suddenly you'll start dropping F-bombs or C words and all type. And I have to, so I understand fully. And listen, I apologize to all the people who hate that. I'm a reject, guys. Listen, my Kappa was detated, but I think that in the long run, what happens is people start contributing. You start to form more of a think group that has so many opposing opinions that you become so used to the most visceral way to be, but not insulting each other, but just no one cares about trigger words at Strange Recon if they're hanging around for long, because they know the content is what matters. I'm not, that's it.
And that's also funny. Like, listen, I have great information here. You're just going to have to sit through all my cursing to get to it.
That's the truth. And
that's also just it.
I'm not going to lie. And you said it a minute ago. Like
wait a minute. Oh no, wrong one.
I do come from a production background a little bit in TV, but I'll say that I also don't really care, to be honest with you. I love my audience, my Patreon members, and people that have told me and brought me things. I admit it 100%. I will never stop talking to them because they inspire me, inspire my curiosity. But I also don't really give a shit about the outcome of what people think. I'm getting in fights with people on Twitter like Mike, UAP Mike, and all these
that
people.
Guy is such dude. I almost never block people. He accused me of literal federal crimes and all this other stuff, and said that he was going to get me prosecuted. And that guy is such a toxic person. But I do have some good news. Look at that! Congratulations, Strange Recon hit the magic numbers right here on Truthseekers broadcast. Time to celebrate and turn on that money button. So congratulations there. Hey,
everyone, thank you. All right, everyone, I appreciate it very much, Stephen. Thank you very much for pushing my channel at all. Seriously, I really appreciate it, because I honestly get super weirded out if someone gave me a single compliment. So thank you very much, 100% that you've had. I am 100% grateful. And listen, I told you in chat for real that your name is spoken in hushed corners.
Yeah, I hear that.
You have people that come to me that are like, have you heard how bad this guy Stephen is? But yet I always ask those people, what evidence have you been shown that none of us have been shown? And they never have an answer. I've been told it's real. That's what we're talking about, folks. We're not saying that you didn't see an orb behind your granny's holler back in 1976.
Yeah, and you know what's so funny is that I have a friend that's so on the woo side, and he's friendly with a lot of people that hate my guts. And he said, they really hate your guts, but they know you're right. And they know that your evidence is always factual and correct, and they really can't argue with you. So what are they going to do? It's like when you hate somebody that's successful because you can't do what they're doing. I hate
everyone.
Yeah.
No, I'm sorry. No, that's not true. No, but you're right, man. You're right. You're 100% right. Listen, the hardest part for a lot of people to understand is that I don't believe it's one or the other. I just don't. I can't think that it's like, are aliens real or not? I'm not here to come up with that answer. Are you kidding me? That's ridiculous. If someone says they're being plagued, stalked, haunted, followed, chased, intruded upon, swarmed, if they're saying the Navy is under attack from Martians from Mars for years on the news, and we need to go after this subject hardcore, and then you find out that all the evidence they have is of rather mundane, very human, normal stuff. You thinking, is the plasma blob that turned into a weird formation that some lady reported when she was 13 the same thing as what the Nimitz encounter was? I don't think it is. I think, in fact, listen, I'm not trying to be a jerk, but I think at this point, if you don't think there's enough evidence that suggests there's inconsistencies to make the story ridiculously inaccurate, I think that people haven't done the due diligence at all. This whole new 2004 movement and on, I bet a lot of these people have good intentions. I'm not even kidding. I bet a lot of these individuals, and some may say they're full-on scam artists, I bet they have a lot of good intent, or ethically good, as in they believe it's good, intention. But I think that they're willing to take so many luxuries with truth and context that they would lie every single day on the media for 5 years. And what do we have today? We have people actually believing that the Navy is being plagued by aliens. A Navy service member will laugh in your face if you say, how many alien craft do you see a week? It's like, they would be like, are you kidding me? The Chinese are everywhere.
Yeah, and I've seen, we have this James Gilead from, he's got his own ranch, and the ESETI thing, and he, he talks so nonchalantly, if you listen to him talk on a podcast as a guest, he's like, well, this week we had 4 motherships and 3 beam ships flying over the ranch. And meanwhile, his evidence is little lights in the sky that could be anything, but he'll tell people that pay money to go there, that's a mothership. I just get disgusted. I just shake my head. And on the subject of the people with the bad evidence, we did this story on Linda Molten Owl. She's got 2,500 people watching her part 3 of a story about fake alien pictures. I just checked in. She's got 2,500 people watching her. But interestingly, somebody's in the live chat telling her that we debunked it. We talked to the artist and that she's a liar. They'll get blocked and muted. It's just interesting. And people are sending her super chats while she's using fake alien pictures to sell a story about gray aliens. It's amazing to me.
Yeah, Linda. Okay. There, when a professional boxer is so good for so long that every single other boxer that competes against them starts to train to defeat that style. They've specialized a style, a grandmaster. They can kick the crap out of anyone with this style. But after literally 10 to 15 to 25 years, maybe, these kids have grown up to train to defeat this style. Well, Linda Molten Owl, if she had retired 25 years ago, people wouldn't be saying, hey, Linda, you're using a picture from a... Oh, I must swear again. Linda... People are giving you bad information and you're not vetting it as good as an Emmy award-winning journalist should do. Okay? Can we all say that, yes, you did well with other things, but what does well mean? Does it mean you were providing a truth to the public in some sort of ethical way, or does it mean that you succeeded in a field you were in? I'm sorry. I actually think this lady just was, she would not be treated the way she was today if she left years ago. But she's almost 100 years old and she's still trying to beat the mind of young kids. We're all smarter than you, lady. That's what we did. We're you, but a better version. That's what happens with every generation. I don't know if you're aware.
Yeah, it's unfortunate in her case. And lately I started thinking she's got some employees that work for her.
Yes.
And they must not care about her one bit because, listen, I told her in an email, I sent her the link to the interview with the actual artist. And I said, the people that are working for you could have contacted him for you. They could have interviewed him and got the story for you. They didn't do that. She has nobody working for her that cares. They just want to keep the money machine rolling so they keep their paychecks, I guess. And we'll be covering whatever she says tonight, but she is up to 4. She's up to 4 anonymous military inside sources to sell this story.
Yeah.
And, listen, I understand the need for anonymous sources. Sometimes somebody doesn't want to give their name. People have told me that, I'll give you this information, but don't use my name. But when you get to 4, there's proof these alien pictures were generated and created in 2008 by an artist. We interviewed him. He told him, he has no reason to lie. There's witnesses to him creating the images. He worked on this web series with other people. And they're still going to the Men in Black and the CIA, and they're covering it up. And then she's using 4 anonymous sources plus a psychic remote viewer to say, no, the pictures are real. I look at evidence as on a scale when I decide, is this true or not? Let's weigh the scale of the evidence. Let's see the weight of the evidence on both sides, and plus also Occam's razor. Like, this is so stupid. Like, I guess the Men in Black time traveled back to 2008, gave him these pictures, and then said, in 2022, this woman, Linda, is going to release these pictures. So we need you to say that you created them for a fictional web series. And then they time travel back, and like, she's up to several thousands of dollars that she has made on this story. We estimated her super chats and her YouTube ad revenue. She's going to do she's doing part 3 on fake pictures. I can't wait to hear what she says now. People are guessing that she's going to say it's a my lab now. It was all a psyop. And I guarantee she's going to have a new military insider that told her whatever she's talking about right now tonight that nobody else gets to interview. That's the problem with all of her anonymous sources. Nobody gets to interview him. I loved her fake Navy SEAL. She asked him in a documentary what his rank was, and he gave an Army rank that's not even a rank in the Navy.
Listen, this is okay. So one of the first things I noticed from, again, I think you nailed it. I think she has people working for her, and the name Linda Molten Owl is an empire, if you will. If there are any empires within ufology, we can say that at least Linda Molten Owl is one of many, one of a few, or one of a handful, or whatever. Mm-hmm. So let's just say that and I don't really mean this in the sense that I have anything against her, because honestly, I don't really give a shit, to be fair. But I will say that I think that she's past 25 years past, she should have retired, and she shouldn't be saying or have any of this stuff. I'm seeing her talk about Navy SEAL stuff that I find to be hilarious. First off, everyone in your chat should know, okay, that yes, some Navy SEALs are privy to stuff that is so compartmentalized that no one will ever hear about it ever. Though that one SEAL team of maybe, or that one operation of maybe, 24 guys total are going to know about it till the day it's over. That's true. I will say that. That's true. But I will put it to your audience that, like many special operations, USASOC, SOCOM, whatever the F they're calling nowadays, I will put it to this. They're soldiers that are asked to go out and do things rapidly and efficiently to a degree that other soldiers can't really do, okay? But they're not looked upon as a magical source of alien fighting, pyramid discovering. It's like the word Navy SEAL is like placed into every story Linda Molten Owl is given. But it's not just that. It's not just from Linda. It's from the folklore of all this stuff. Let's look back to the Afghanistan giant case, where a team of special operators and a few infantry guys run upon a giant alien, just a regular giant.
Yeah, and in Nephilim, people jumped all over that. The Christian people like, see, giants are real.
Oh my God, it exploded. But then I noticed something. I said, well, what do you have evidence of this? And they said this amazing story about soldiers getting killed, but then the soldiers winning and getting the giant. And I said, what do you have evidence for this thing? And they sent me a video of a blurred out face telling a story about this. The guy in the video was wearing a shirt that you can buy from an Army PX for about $18. The shirt said like U.S. Army no. It said legitimately, if you look back at the original video of that giant story, it's like, I am an Army soldier. I'll kick in your door with American sunshine. I'm the queen of battle. I'll be the baddest man like on the planet. It's like, if you can find me a special forces operator that would wear that stupid freaking shirt in public.
They don't advertise, in my opinion,
let alone go on a show. And maybe that was the whole point. Maybe that was the trick. Maybe I'm not smart enough to recognize the ruse. It just was so freaking nuts. I couldn't believe it. This looked like a person that you would never listen to. It's like, whatever, a tall private, meaning a private that you would associate with being a young novice person, but in this case happens to be 6 foot 3 inches tall or something. And you're like, it's weird. You're like this junior soldier, but you're really tall. The stories are all from people that you would never listen to ever in the military, but because they're under the guise of a SEAL, you're like, wow, they discovered a pyramid base under Alaska, and there was lizard
And they
aliens
had
there.
and they had to send a Navy SEAL to rescue a scientist there. And it's so funny because when you listen to the flip side, like Don Shipley is a real Navy SEAL, and he's a big guy that goes and busts stolen valor. He hates Linda and her fake Navy SEAL sources.
Oh, really? I gotta find.
Yeah, well, he said, like, in this situation, the last people that you would send is a Navy SEAL. There wasn't anybody else available. They don't send Navy SEALs for like extraction missions. You know, the guy. Yeah, it's just so ridiculous. And then the guy gave a fake rank that's not a Navy SEAL rank, and
the fake
of course,
rank thing is
nobody can talk to that anonymous source, only her.
Yeah, that's the word.
One of my favorites of Linda Moulton Howe was that she had a source called Anonymous, and I can't remember, but I think he died in 2008, and then Jeremy Corbell and Richard Dolan interviewed the same guy in 2012 or something like that. Like, they interviewed a dead guy to sell a fake story about aliens, and it's all over YouTube. It's all over YouTube, and they got probably millions of views on that video. An anonymous source tells all about this secret war and how Eisenhower was going to like invade Area 51 because they weren't giving him the truth about those aliens. Well, and the source, first of all, the source nobody could talk to, and second of all, Linda Moulton Howe reports that the source died, and somehow 4 years later, people are interviewing the same guy. It makes none of this makes any sense.
We see this time and time again. We see them busted, they go away, they come back. You see, I think we're all aware how small ufology actually is in the big world.
Yeah, people tend to pump it up, but I'm telling you, there's more people at a Dungeons and Dragons convention than there is at a UFO convention.
Heck yeah.
Certainly more younger people. And if you go to a cosplay convention, 10 times more people than a UFO
my God, yeah. I mean, go to Chelsea, New York.
It's just tiny subculture that people pretend is this big deal, but I don't understand that myself, and then sometimes I think about that myself for my show, like, even if you become the king of the UFO dorks, like, is that really something to be proud of,
No, but seriously, can we let's look back at data aggregation, be it MUFON or someone else, right? We know that 5%, maybe even 5% or less, is an actual unexplainable but yet pretty weird incident. So now we're going to scale to what is today. People are trying to make almost empires in the public of something, and they're just really just replacing Jesus or something. Like, they're just like, it's just like weird. I don't know what the fuck they're doing. I don't know what they're doing, but it doesn't ultimately seem to be releasing information that would prove it to the vast majority. All I ask is this, because I am wrong all the time, but for any person out there with facts, just release what you have that you're claiming is what convinced you. Because I have been here for 27 years, ever since having my weird, at least in the air phenomenon. And I'll tell you a phenomena that I still try to debunk. I guess I could technically with dirigibles and possible triangular aircraft designs, but ultimately speaking, 27 years, man, I'm still waiting for those who claim they're going to release proof to the public to do so. What the hell is the problem? I understand all about classification and sensitive equipment that's recording that data, but then why would you replace that option with people that just say, I swear, I'm telling you guys, I promise you.
Trust me, dude. Yeah, that's how this works.
It literally makes me sweat. I get sick. I'm like, wait a second. I know that I'm a dummy, and I know that I'm super opinionated, and maybe I shouldn't go crazy with my opinions, but
sometimes you have to.
We have people that are so utterly convinced they will literally send you photos of your house and say, keep going against disclosure, and we'll come and get you. That type of bull. So what we have is people that have been militarized because their curiosity hasn't been inspired. It's been weaponized. They haven't been given the tools or the necessary information to go look for themselves and to show, hey, humans are clever as hell. They've been shown a reason to ignite their torches and grab their pitchforks out. They haven't been shown the evidence to prove it to. They're shown scripture.
You know what's really interesting is that when TTSA came out, there was militant TTSA fanboys that would threaten you if you said anything negative, even if you asked questions. They would, and, you know, and I wonder. At first, I wondered where did they all go now that it's pretty clear that that was a money grubbing scam? You know, none of the investors got any money. They never built a spaceship like they promised.
A spaceship.
You know, they promised everybody a spaceship with a revolutionary power source that would change the world.
How crazy is it? I'm sorry.
We forgot all about the spaceship. We're just going to do entertainment now.
Skateboards.
Invest again, yeah. And then he wants new investors now when the first round of investors never made any money. It's crazy. But where those fanboys disappeared, or they became new, nameless, faceless, brand new Twitter accounts. Elizondo's got his army of Twitter trolls.
Well, it's a lot of like emojis of like head hits, like, oh, I can't believe you don't believe what's happening. But to back up real quick to what you just said about what TTSA offered, just put it in the minds of your listeners and viewers right now. Ready? TTSA was offering you a chance for this strange new UFO type technology they were going to get from Justice and Elizondo and Melon and Put Off and whoever else was going on in the crew, whoever. Get this, ready? A 2-hour flight around the planet. If you look right now, you'll see by 2026, JetBlue's offering that. Delta's offering that. American Airlines wants to get into hypersonic flight. 8 minutes up, 1 hour around. Okay? Not literally on the entire planet. Yeah. So their alien technology was no greater than something that humans came up with in 1956.
Great point.
Tom DeLonge is what I would like to call an idiot. I'm sorry, Mr. DeLonge, but I think what you've done is proven to the world that you can be convinced of things without shown evidence of. In this sentiment that, well, this person has credentials, they must be telling the truth. Does anyone remember the Gulf of Tonkin incident?
Yeah, I love that when people say, you know, when they just trust the government, I go look up the Gulf of Tonkin. You know, the people have this mistaken belief that the government cares about them and, you know, want to do the right thing. I don't think so, but yeah.
Well, I shouldn't have said he's an idiot. You know what? But if you look at a video like Manny from Area 503 at one point put out a video that I never seen before, although I had seen Tom DeLonge as a youth talking about UFOs and weird stuff, and I joked around about it today. Chris Vieira, just at your house earlier, I said Viking psychic werewolf vampires. Look up Tom DeLonge's comics and stuff he was trying to produce back in the day. You can clearly see that he was into this weird stuff. But he's just a person that, like, this wide-eyed blinking at you. He was on drugs at the time, but just blinking at you and believing it's real. And that, to me, I don't get along with. Faith-based, evidence-based. I will say that I'm willing to entertain your claims, your encounters, your first-hand witness stuff, your ideas about what's happening. Bring it on. I'd love to hear it. We have plenty of time. We have plenty of time on the planet. Trust me, we're all going to die, folks. We got plenty of time, okay? I've heard enough people say there's nothing real. I've heard enough people say that fucking aliens are here watching us now and they're sticking stuff up your ass when you're sleeping. But I just don't care. But ultimately speaking...
Yeah, I was wondering about that one. Like, why would aliens travel vast distances across the star systems and galaxies just to come here and play with our butts? It doesn't make any sense.
Well, I would say anthropologically speaking, me and Dr. Michael Masters agree. And that is, well, you can get a good sample of what you're eating through your butt, or grinding it through the corners of your teeth. We can also see really in anthropology what exactly you've been eating for years.
Well, there you go. Finally, an explanation for all that alien butt probing. We finally know what they're after. They just want to know what we're eating. And that's another thing. They're all supposed to be telepathic. Couldn't they just read your mind and see what you had for dinner instead of messing with your butt?
You debunked me. God.
Yeah.
Yes.
Instead of messing with your butt, you know.
No, that's the whole problem with a lot of these things. They take the short path. Wouldn't it be appropriate for aliens if they needed human DNA? Hell, even like legitimate samples, quality, could they just like go to any teenager's house?
I have often thought, though, that one of the reasons they may be here,
poor Melinda,
if they really are here, I have thought that maybe one of the reasons they're here is an anthropological study. You know, they almost can't remember when they were this primitive, you'd think, right? And maybe they want.
That's one of my favorite parts about this whole thing. Yes, I give credence to that, because people love to talk about dimensions, man. People love to talk about dimensions. You know what I like to think about when I think about dimensions? It's not about weird, like, invisible worlds right in front of us where we can switch and it's suddenly Narnia. But I think about dimensions of intelligence. A gorilla doesn't know what the German student is doing when it travels to Lagos, then drives 3 hours north, takes a DNA sample, uploads it to the internet, categorizes it, spreads it across the world. Hey, look, the three stomach giant gorilla is eating this today. Like, it doesn't know any of that. It just got drugged. And so I'm open-minded. Like, who would? We're not that crazy intelligent. We've been in science for 500 years at most. You know, it's like, I don't necessarily think that it's a good idea to suggest that none of these things are real. Plus, we've come up with our technology is crazy awesome. It's amazing. We were literally discovering fire, running around naked, and the same human brain went around the moon. I mean, come on.
Yeah, and not that far over. That's why I think about, you know, I'm hoping that the Webb telescope will learn more, but there's galaxies that are so many years ahead of us that if intelligent life did exist, they've had millions more years of technological development. And look, we went from, what did we go from? We went from horse and buggies to the moon in a span of 100 years. So who knows what a million years of technological development would look like, you know?
You know how crazy it is that you're considered some sort of like hound dog that won't leave the people alone to have conversations with Lou? But yet what you just said was more profound and open-minded than you'll hear in freaking years on some of these people's networks.
And, you know, I've always thought, like, listen, these people are public. I know people dog me for like being. People have this assumption that I'm doing it because I'm like vicious or mean or vindictive, and that's not the case. I just think if you're going to be a public figure and make ridiculous statements, like I ran a government UFO program, I'm allowed to scrutinize your statements. You're the one making the statement. I'm just scrutinizing it. And I'm checking for evidence, and it's so funny now. Lou Elizondo has fallen apart, and now the new line of his supporters is that he is the UAP. He's the former Pentagon UAP portfolio manager. They're all calling him that. So they stopped calling him the director of ATIP now that we know he didn't direct anything. And now they say he's the former. What does that mean? He had a portfolio of UFO pictures on his desk.
Let's call it a think group.
And he managed that folder full of UFO photos.
That's pretty good.
But for a goof, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to call the Pentagon and I'm going to ask for the UAP portfolio manager. Because if that's a real title, there should be a new guy doing that, right? So I'm going to call the Pentagon. We're going to do it live on air one day. I'm going to call the Pentagon. And then if they can't connect me to the UAP portfolio manager, then I'm going to call the people calling Lou Elizondo, the UAP portfolio manager, and say, what's the deal here? Is that another fake made-up title? Because I just called the Pentagon and nobody knows who that is. They don't think it's a real job. You know, it's amazing.
I think you're dead on. I didn't ever heard that, but you know, I just was talking to my show today. I've been getting messages from people. Listen, props to they're doing it in secret now. They're doing it in secret now. Hopefully in the future they'll start to kind of be open about it. But they started messaging me. Hey, you know what? I shouldn't have been so hard on you. I'm starting to notice that it is kind of weird that like the Chinese will launch a rocket and then will report a UAP.
Yeah, I think that's I get this a lot. You know how many times people,
but they're scared to come out and admit that.
Yeah, or I've had people that were like so nasty to me, and then they come back a few months later and apologize because they were like, you know what, you were right about that person, because now they're selling more garbage and this is what's going on. I'm like, okay, great. You know, I think it's important to keep an open mind and never, you know, I'm real big on this saying too. The only people who fear questions are people with something to hide. There's a reason that some of these people, everybody knows, every guest that comes here even if I think they're totally loaded full, we had a guy on here that was a former cop who claimed that he interacted with reptilian aliens in a mall. But we were very nice to him.
Where else?
Exactly. And he was trained by the aliens to help with crowd control during Katrina or something. But my point is, we're very respectful to guests. No matter if there's, if I totally think they're full of it or not, we're still respectful. Yes. So there's no reason to, people try to use that card. Well, you're nasty, so they don't want to come here. No, they don't want to come here because they don't want to answer real questions. And we have this Kurt from Theories of Everything was supposed to interview Stephen Greer a few days ago. Yeah. And it got canceled or rescheduled. And
was it canceled?
Yes. And if you read, Kurt said it's going to be rescheduled.
Okay. Yeah, that's what I heard. Yeah.
Everybody thinks, go read the YouTube thread and the Twitter thread, because he asked for questions that people want to ask. And it was all about all kinds of scammy, dirty shit.
Yeah.
And so I think Stephen Greer read that and he went, we got to talk. I can't just do an interview with real questions.
That's what happened with Vice. It's literally just what happened with Vice. They just did a little piece about Stephen Greer. And before I even heard about the thing, I have a buddy that lives in Brooklyn. He still works in production. And he was just talking about he was on a job where he almost went to some ranch where they were doing that stuff I was talking about like a year and a half ago, which I was like, what do you mean? He was like, I don't know what it's called, but this guy does this meditative stuff where he talks to aliens. And I looked it up, and sure enough, Vice TV, Vice is not, listen, if everyone thinks that Vice is some hippie news, it's definitely run by some conglomerate. It ain't some sort of objective piece.
No, I think Vice used to be good, and they got progressively worse.
I've seen a lot of things that I just thought, they're exposing it, but they're also putting it in the light of some sort of. It's like they remind me of like fun fluff pieces, almost like, even though it seems like they're next to the cannibal, the way they're projecting it is almost like it.
I don't know, it's definitely like a fringe. They're going for the fringe weird story. We used to have a local guy called Don Pollock's World, and he would run around Philadelphia and just do stories of weirdness, haunted houses and whatever, just weird stuff. And that's what they've become. I did see that piece, and I thought it was kind of funny. They didn't really paint him in a really good light. I bet you he regrets doing that, And I just think it's interesting though that, I have this attitude that if I ask a guest to come here and they say no, I start wondering why. Do you know what I mean? And I'm sure sometimes it's like, you don't have enough subscribers and I got to sell books.
Well, yeah, that's.
But a lot of times it is, I don't want to answer real questions.
Yeah.
They have this protected echo chamber places, and I swear they have even some of the older guys that have been this for a long time. I swear that they have co-opted some of the younger people that started shows, and they need another echo chamber, so they get this person to be friendly to all the UFO celebrities. Yeah. It burns me up when I listen to a UFO celebrity and the interviewer does what I call the UFO circle jerk. And that is no hardball questions. Don't look into their background for scammy stuff that they've done or said in the past, or fake sources, or just let them talk for 2 hours and smile, ask them, softballs.
No, you nailed it again, man. You did. And it's the worst part is we feel it and we call it out and nothing changes. And I'm not saying that we should, because there's so much internet, there's so much reality. It's when their shows get funneled through the one place this all is happening, and it's like UFO Twitter or something. UFO Twitter was never ufology ever. Like, you wouldn't even notice someone with 250,000 followers and ufology showing videos of like birds if there wasn't like UFO Twitter or something to like manage to get this information to you. There's so many YouTube channels, but then you start to recognize these young newer YouTubers who make friends with the older class gentlemen, and they kind of pass down their technique, and you start to not only see it. You start to not only see it from the older ones, but then they bring it into the new age kind of ways of speaking. And you're like, you're just saying what that dude's, wait, that's not, why are you repeating this without like really backing it up? And I got in trouble the other day for like calling that shit out. But I think that dude from the Liberation Times there, I don't know about Christopher Sharp, though I'm guessing he's part of it. Bob Bliskin, on Twitter, Bob Bliskin. Like I'm like, this is what I'm talking about. Though he might not recognize it, if all you do is echo what someone told you under the and your listeners, and I'm sure he knows because this is an information op. He's looking for where the information is coming from. He's open source intelligence, or at least he was. But if all you do is echo what people said, you are basically setting yourself up to be scrutinized. And if you do not allow yourself to be scrutinized to some degree, you're in trouble. And I asked him flat out, and he told me, he printed our entire freaking chat. What do I got to hide? He literally put on Twitter, he posted our entire chat live just yesterday, 2 days ago. And I'll admit, I did take a couple assumptions, but never did I lie. We have people literally learning from their master, people like Knapp or Lou or others, or larger the Washington Examiner.
Hey, listen, if George Knapp was your mentor, you would say it every 5 seconds too when you were interviewed, okay?
I'm sorry that long-winded answer, but the answer is yes. That the meme did it best. That video you're talking about with my mentor and friend, my mentor George Knapp. Yeah, that was weird. But it seems like these people have kind of have recognized nepotism wins and beats the market. You can turn your show or your publication into a job relatively easy after your career in the military is over with. But also you are a part of a tool. Some people say, I want to be a tool in your tool belt. Some people literally don't even know there's a tool.
Yeah, you know what? I have a problem with that guy because he got to interview Lou Elizondo more than anybody. I think he interviewed him 4 or maybe even 6 times, and he doesn't ask any hard questions over 2 hours and hours of softball garbage. And now it seems like Lou left him out to dry, because they did his co-host asked one hard question about the sock accounts, and then that's it for Lou going on his show. But it's interesting is that we did this show on the real UFO cover-up, and I think the real cover-up is everybody keeping their mouth shut about all this fakery, fraudery, and bull that goes on because everybody's getting something. That guy that you mentioned, he got to interview Lou Elizondo 4 times. He got thousands of subscribers because of those interviews, thousands of views, and probably thousands of dollars in ad revenue. And all he had to do was keep his mouth shut about all the inconsistent statements that Lou's made.
Would he have noticed them? Would he have noticed the inconsistent statements? I'm not sure he would have.
No, maybe he's too. Yeah,
I think
maybe sometimes I ascribe malice to people when it's not malice, it's stupidity and laziness. You know what I mean? Like maybe he's just like, Lou's a big hero. He's getting us disclosure, and he looks into nothing, and therefore he doesn't have the brains to do the hound dog part and look into him before he interviews him.
I'm more conspiracy related. I'm not gonna lie. Ever since for the last 2 years, I don't know what it is, but I've just been nonstop recognizing that the conspiracies that I once thought were just completely ridiculous have relatively strong evidence to back up their original claims, like fluoride in the water, shit like that. It's right on the NIH website, for God's sakes. The NIH says fluoride in the water needs to be investigated. This is weird. But anyways, I just sorry. To me, I think it's fair that these individuals back up their claims made. If I'm going to go way back to start on, back up their claims made, at least to the degree that they satisfy some people. But we don't have that. It's been 27 years for me. I have nothing. 27 years of looking at UFOs. I don't have a single drop of evidence to back up what any of these ironclad figures in ufology are claiming. Do you have anything?
The only case that I really hold on to as perhaps alien in its genesis and nature is Roswell. And that's because of a lot of reasons, but there's a book called Children of Roswell. If you get a chance, read that. It's just so compelling to me that all these people on their deathbeds suddenly started talking about seeing alien bodies and things. It's hard for me to put that away and explain that part of the story away. But everything else, sure, there's certainly some mysteries, but but mystery doesn't mean, just because something is a mystery doesn't automatically mean aliens. Just because you can't explain it doesn't automatically mean aliens. I think a lot of people go straight to it. They go straight to the alien explanation all too often, and that drives me nuts. It just drives me nuts. And I apologize if I seem like I'm distracted. Ooh, did we lose you? Oh, how did that happen?
I don't know. I got kicked out. That was weird.
Oh, I apologize. It must be the Men in Black.
I heard everything you said. I just sometimes got booted out. I had to restart the whole thing. Yeah, I don't know. The whole thing's a compliment. Can I ask you your actual opinions? So, do you think this is a top-down conspiracy, Stephen? Do you think that like Elizondo is working for a higher superpower to convince everyone of something? Or do you think that's a ploy elsewhere?
No, most of me thinks that Lou Elizondo is a UFO profiteering whore. That's what I think. But a small part of me thinks that he may be part of some psyop to get people away from the super advanced drone technology with super advanced propulsion systems that they have been testing and that they don't want people to know are in our skies. If people are looking for aliens or ET, they're not looking for Boeing flight tests of super advanced propulsion systems off the coast of California. And also, I knowing military men in my life, they take their responsibility to protect our country very seriously. And I wonder sometimes if there is an ops to make people look at aliens to cover for the fact that our United States military has no idea what's in the skies sometimes. And it's their responsibility. They should know what it is. They don't. Yeah. It's a multi-layered weird cake,
Yeah, well, yeah, and I think you nailed it with the military taking it seriously. Because, okay, just for a second, think what Christopher Mellon just said on Stars and Stripe podcast. That if you haven't seen it, this is a national security issue. Okay, so at the same time, we have turning gears happening. But one thing is for sure: if we were to say that they are just reporting how they see it, that's it. Let's just pretend for a second that these people who we just called profiteering whores a second ago are actually reporting it as how they feel is really happening.
Yeah, I mean,
Christopher Mellon,
possibility.
Christopher Mellon, though, is suggesting it's a national security issue. So, who do we know on planet Earth right now is a relative threat to us?
Yeah, China would be the biggest.
So they're saying it themselves too. I don't understand why so many individuals would be like, okay, well, Christopher Mellon said this or Lou said this, but what do they also say? They also say, well, if this turns out to be them, they were screwed. It was like,
thank you, Complizierd. And you know what also people forget too is that it's important to look at the history of statements, because Christopher Mellon at one point made a statement that the United States government is not covering up anything about UFOs. And that was years ago. Then he goes to TTSA and suddenly there's a government cover up and he's going to get to the bottom of it. This doesn't make, one of these things is not like the other. This doesn't make any sense.
And that is thoroughly through the entire topic. See, I'm in drunken mess right now, and I wish I could have a good position where I could.
Well, it's nice to know that you stayed sober for our important interview.
It's not. Right? I apologize, sir. The problem is that when I get an opportunity like I had today, I have to celebrate, and I apologize. I could share the news.
I've been about 50 days without a drink, but I used to drink occasionally. I would time it well, like start drinking right at the start of the show so that there's no way I can pound enough beers to be like incoherent drunk by the end,
I hope I'm not incoherent. No, but I do think if you actually jump back to Christopher Mellon and Leslie Kean and start looking at the start of their relationship and when they all start talking, you start to notice a flip in the market when it goes from petroleum to electric fully. The last grasp right now is ExxonMobil. They're the last ones on the global market. Okay, that's it. There's no more petroleum to run the world anymore and control what systems we use, how we power our military, how our society runs. I will give Greer that. He at least recognized that yes, petroleum, once they left the market, things were going to change weird and get weird. We start to see around 1999-ish, where the same technology we had from 1950, either gets lifted and stolen by the Chinese, or we bring it back off the shelf for some reason. We see that not only through the Cox report that the Chinese stole all our nuclear warheads and all that stuff, they stole a lot of things. And we see that every year they have, oh my God, I can't even,
Did you know that they stole they stole absolutely positively every piece of information, designs, schematics of the space shuttle?
Yeah,
and so did the Russians.
Have you seen theirs?
Yeah,
it's freaking
and
beautiful.
The Russians tried to build one, and they didn't ever fly it, but they built one. And
no, they made a new space station. I love the excuses. People are like, yeah, they had 45 years to perfect it. No, this is how you beat Goliath. You don't try to fight Goliath as big as Goliath. You don't try to pump iron and get as big as the dude or something. You throw sand in his eyes. You steal the weapons they have to take, so this whole thing is looked at, and all these ufologists that have these huge followings love context, right? Oh yeah, right. Like the Chinese could go 17,000 miles an hour and stop. What does that mean in the context though? Well, because we know that the Chinese have vehicles that can quote unquote park in orbit and then re-enter 17,000 plus miles an hour. So they're not wrong. I mean, they're right. Rather, the Chinese can't do it, but it's the context in which it's delivered. Sorry, it's like these things are going from 0.0 to 7 Mach, whatever. Yes, because they're in orbit and then they re-enter and fly down fast as hell.
Yeah.
Like, okay, I could go crazy with that, but like, I don't mean to say that Chinese are all the phenomena or paranormal. Of course, there's weird shit out there. Science is new. Science is still creating new research all the time. There's new fields named every year. There's literally a new field of science, hard science, named every year. Think about, maybe not every year, but think about what it means when there's a frontier in every science still to this day. And so in this, yes, there's unexplained things. But when the Chinese start developing something that we've had since Operation Paperclip, and then we say we don't know how we did it, they even say, "Oh, we're going to ask someone from DARPA. Are we better than the Chinese?" And they say, "Well, they leapfrogged us. How did they do it?"
They stole a lot of it.
But they're also stealing stuff we had in 1940. So it's like how do you start to really judge the topic when you recognize that we've had transmedium vehicles since 50 or since like late 60s, and they now have wordage and these new mandates that transmedium means alien, just like the 5 observables were alien until that crumbled because they were ridiculously not alien, and then suddenly.
And you know what other one I like is that people say metamaterials, and that's supposed to mean alien. But I know somebody that works on developing metamaterials. It's not alien. We have them.
Every day.
It just they say metamaterial. We've gotten these recovered. We've got recovered pieces of one of these craft, and there's metamaterial. And there's no way we could create it. I don't buy it.
I don't buy it. Let's go back to like Kenneth Arnold. We're talking 1947, right? Before Roswell. Kenneth Arnold described the flight characteristics of one of these Sanger silverfish or a variant of it to the T. It flew fast. It bounced. It flew like a bouncing motion. That's how these gliders were. They didn't. You can't fly these Delta. They don't really fly really perfectly, like in the sense that they fly straight. They actually fly like this. Like it's better for them to lift and fly down. Their construction, all the stress on their wings and their hull are in a manner that they're better to fly like this than it is to cut the. Anyways, but he described them to the T. And then all of a sudden we're talking about things blowing up in the desert, crashing into areas where there's test ranges. So during a time where liquid-cooled Glocken, the secret bell of Germany, what was that? It was a liquid-cooled rocket engine that had little tubulars that went around the engine and cooled it. So its own fuel cooled the engine bell. Yes, it was revolutionary. It wasn't sending you to the Venetians. It was revolutionary.
I've never actually heard that it might have been a rocket engine, but you may be right. I think that a lot of people amplify the technology that the Nazis actually had. Certainly they were ahead of us with jet technology and rocket technology, and Germans are some amazing engineers and inventors,
Solving the 1897
Oh, I love those because there was no planes in the sky,
The best part about this is that they showed that not only is science by what I like to call it Strange Recon the wave gap, and I'm just plugging Michael Busby's book shamelessly. Michael Busby, old retired engineer guy. But there's a wave gap, right? So we invent something and we use it secretly as long as we can. And I know that sounds very primitive. It's like that's no revelation. Greer has said that. Many have said that. But we have to really consider where this started. There is not a little bit of evidence. There's a ton of evidence that show that airships were created successfully decades before the Army started declaring we have airships. They used them to smuggle heroin and drugs. Well, today we have civilians getting hypersonic flight. Are we actually going to believe that the United States CIA, for the first time in its history, is going to use the same level technology as Delta Airlines? Come on.
No, it's alien technology. It can't be Delta Airlines technology. That's not a great story to, Yeah, it's sometimes crazy. I wonder too, is like, when I go through this stuff and I go, oh, this one's bullshit. This one's bullshit. This story's bullshit. Then I start wondering, like, why am I even here? But then something will keep me interested and occupied for some time, But that clearing out the bull is most of the time that you waste,
What's crazy is that honestly, most of my listeners or viewers don't really like this part of me. But the truth of the matter is, some of them do. The truth of the matter is that I just despise the lying to achieve something, regardless of what it is. Like the out of context facts they'll deliver and sway this whole audience. I just can't believe that humans are the apex of the universe. I'm sorry. I just don't believe that human beings could possibly be the best variant of life in the universe. Our asshole is an inch and a half away from a reproduction organ.
Yeah, that's not I've always thought that wasn't a good design to put a recreation area right next to a waste disposal plant, right?
Our orifices where we take disease and viruses in is right there where we eat food. It's not a great design. It's
Yeah, you have to wonder sometimes. I do think there's life in the universe. There has to be, because it's just if not, there's just what a tremendous waste of space.
Yes,
there's just it's so vast, and with this, it gets mind-boggling when you start to see, like, one image of the Webb telescope can show something like millions of galaxies. And all of those galaxies have planets and exoplanets, and even if everything is chance, there's got to be another roll of the dice that created life on Earth has had to have happened. That roll of the dice has had to happen somewhere else. It's just a matter of, can they get here or not? That's the other big question. Or can we get there? But I think, what's interesting? I never knew this, but a real physicist taught me some math, and it is 6 months pilot time now, time being relative. Years would pass on Earth, but it's 6 months pilot time to the nearest star system if you used a nuclear powered rocket.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
So a person could get to the nearest star system in 6 months with technology we have right now. They started developing these nuclear rockets in the 60s, and they sort of abandoned them because they weren't ready to do any kind of interstellar flights. They didn't need that much to go to the moon or whatever,
There is I love sailing, right? I usually live on a sailboat.
Yeah, we can talk about that. I told you I used to have one. My dad had them.
I think we can conceptualize it pretty good, right? So, like on a sailboat, let's just talk about speed, relative speed. Okay, so the ancients, we have drawings or hieroglyphs and artwork in ancient Egypt that shows that they were using the same sailboats they use today, not junk rigs, but the same type of cat rig where they lift the whole sail up, no rigging, just one long pole or whatever. And you can see that sailing has been this massive tool for years when it comes to understanding physics and kind of taking advantage of it, understanding to a degree. They knew about sailing. They knew about moving around. Today, okay, the sailing is still used, right? I can go 7 to 12 knots all day long if I try, but there are speedboats that go 75 knots.
Yeah.
There is 2 technologies utilized on the planet at the same time. If you can not least acknowledge that's how boats work, think of it like ion propulsion in space or any type of propulsion that requires a ton of energy. But they always the context is this, right? That you would need all these, millions and millions and millions of tons of energy to keep doing this, to get there, this speed. Space, you build up speed.
Yeah, exactly. That's why this equation, somebody did all the math that you could get to the nearest star system in 6 months, works because you just keep going faster and faster and faster. And there would have to be a period where you reached near the speed of light, and then there would have to be a period of slowdown as you approach the star system you were going to. But still, it's interesting to see the math on that. We can absolutely go to other star systems, even with the technology we have now, so that they can't get here argument, especially if these civilizations are millions of years ahead of us, doesn't hold much water.
Yeah, we'll look at what we're sending out in space today. I'm sorry, in the 70s and how far it reached, and that old calculation about if we created something in the 70s, we made something in the 80s, we'd be able to pass it, and then in the 90s we'd be able to pass that rocket into. But it goes on and on and on. But someone in your chat brought something up real quick. I'm sorry. It says the Diglocka, whatever it's called, Glocken, whatever. I don't know what it's referred to. I don't speak German. Heute Bohnen und Frankfurter Tag. The
Wunderweapon
was allegedly 2 counter-rotating cylinders filled with purple liquid substances. It was highly radioactive when operating. Now, let me change the context of that real quick. The Glocken, the engine bell, the bell of an engine, was so protected by the Germans during that time because what? It mixed its fuel with an oxidizer and rotated it around the engine and cooled the thing for the first time ever, because one of the worst things about rockets was they freaking got super hot and destroyed themselves. So they had to figure out a way to do this. The Germans, these clever sons, because one of the parts of this story, by the way, Michael Busby.
That's interesting. I have to get that book.
One of the parts of the stories is Germans knew all this stuff, not just like slightly early. They knew back in the German Civil War. They had already started making all this stuff and refining it. And Americans were just waiting for them to show up on the docks in New York, and they'd hire them. But to go to like the Glock thing, the Glocken, the Sanger Silverfish was an example of German engineering that allegedly never flew, which I find to be completely bullshit. That is not you cannot trust someone hiding the technology to say it never flew. But they, it literally cooled the engine by the first time ever by mixing an oxidizer and the fuel at the same time. So revolutionary that it almost seemed alien. So when people say it today, I almost am positive they think, ufologists are trying to convince them of an anti-gravity thing about mixing 2 cylinders, but really
it could have been as simple as an advanced rocket engine with
super advanced.
One thing that's strange about that story is that near the end of the war, they murdered everybody that worked on that.
Well, Operation
Paperclip. That's the legend.
So I can't speak for sure about certain individuals, but I'll say the Horton brothers were not part of our Operation Paperclip. Their boss was. I'm forgetting his name. I feel embarrassed, but the Horton Ho brothers got taken over to America in Operation Paperclip. Their boss was taken over. The Sanger Silverfish designers and all that stuff, they had over 650,000 kronen or whatever was at the time to produce this thing. They actually got brought over to at least their specs. I think it landed in Canada. I think it looks like the Avro car company was producing things in a new version of the Silverfish, because in aerodynamic engineering, having a 2 body with wings isn't necessarily the best. What the Silverfish was doing, it pretty much worked for that because it kind of parachuted and then took off, or free fell and then took off. But the Avro Omega car, the Avro Omega, not the Avro car, the Avro Omega from Avro in Canada is made up of former British engineers that eventually brought that technology to Lockheed and stuff. I'm sorry, not Lockheed. Kelly. Yeah, Lockheed, Skunk Works. Kelly, what's his name? Kelly. What the hell's that guy's name? Damn. The designer there. Shit.
I don't know his name offhand, but I
Kelly
do remember seeing this.
Kelly Johnson.
This Avro Omega could
Right.
maybe account for some flying saucer sightings, right?
Look at the Avro America compared to what Kenneth Arnold described, and when they started coming up with these concepts, it is almost identical, and it flies just like that.
Yeah, that's interesting.
And a lot of so if you look back at re-entry vehicles from the early 50s, 54 to 60, you'll see that they were trying to do something with leather cockpit seats, manual joysticks, analog dials, with something that today they wouldn't even dare to do without algorithms,
microcontrollers.
Very high level material sciences, because it's too dangerous. Back then, they were crashing shit into the planet.
Yeah,
at such high speed.
They were a lot looser with the safety requirements. They would put somebody up in anything almost.
Are you going to tell me that Mark Brazel doesn't see this thing and calls the base, and then Jesse Marcel, a counterintelligence agent, didn't know what a weather balloon looked like?
Or radar reflector. Yeah, even crashed. They would know. They saw weather balloons every day.
Every freaking day.
All right, I want to thank Randy Redmond, who says, UFO bucks are the real MFers. I support facts, not ladies lying. It wasn't a good night for Linda Moulton Howdy Doody. Yeah, it's a better night for viewers for her. I'll give her that. She's 3,500 people in the live chat to hear her latest explanation now that the whole story has fallen apart courtesy of our coverage. And I do want to mention one thing. If you're going to go to another live chat and mention our show here, please just be respectful. Don't be like me, because that gives them a reason, you know? And by the way, I do want to mention that I was muted or blocked in the chat because I tried to share our coverage of that story, The Truth, in her chat. And I always check in an incognito window to see if my post is, to see if what I'm writing in her live chat is showing up, and it's not. So I can only assume that I was blocked or muted. They have an echo chamber. Don't bother them with the facts. Their mind is made up. Doesn't matter. This artist has overwhelming evidence that he created those images, and she is just doubling down, tripling down. Now there's new parts to the story. She's got new fake sources. She's got some emails she's sharing and all that. I don't know. I'll catch up after tonight's broadcast, and we'll cover that tomorrow. Because I haven't wasted enough of my life on this woman spouting nonsense. This is my life now. Sometimes I get bitter, right? I get a little bitter sometimes. I'm like, I could be doing anything else. I have a lot of other projects here that I really need to work on. And then that's when I get bitter, when I have things that I'm neglecting,
Yes.
Like, I should finish this projects in my garage. You know what? Forget it. I'm going to sit here and listen to this crazy lady tell stupid stories for 2 hours and then write some notes and talk about it on tomorrow's show.
Man, I think it guts you a little bit, doesn't it? Because doesn't it feel weird a little bit when you check in kind of on some of these people once in a while, when you just kind of get someone nails you with something from them, and you just see how many people are so taken by the non. Listen, we gotta be real here. We're not going to get evidence for everything. It's impossible. The observer is never going to be the first one necessarily to grab the evidence. They got to go back and try to figure it out. Maybe they never will. But when it comes to, and I'm so sorry to everyone who I'm friends with who loves her. You've told me, all right. I'm sorry, but I think that Ross Coulthard is the new LMH. I
agree with you. That dude is out there. He
I've been told
is
so scary.
Yeah, he believes anything.
I'll set you into a panic if I told you what I knew. Oh, I've been told. You know how many times in 27 years I've heard I've been told?
Yeah, that's another thing that drives me nuts. Then drop the source so that the rest of us can talk to them. They never do. It's always some anonymous source. Well, I have to protect my sources, and they're, risking a lot. It's a convenient excuse for not sharing sources. And one of the things that I've done here is that, and everybody listening to the sound of my voice knows this. If somebody emails me and says, can I have the documents that you were referencing tonight on the show? I put, We have to spend money every month on Google Drive just so I can keep all of the evidence that I use here is all 100% shared with the world. So, and the hallmark of a good researcher is you can go find the same things, but if you don't want to spend the time or the energy, I don't blame you. I put them in Google Drive, and anybody can look at what I'm using to base my opinions and statements on. And the live chat here is telling me that everybody that went to Linda's chat to post a link to our video, their comments were deleted. And I would submit to you that if you're not doing anything wrong and you are telling the truth, you don't need to stifle and silence other people's opinion. You wouldn't need to do that.
I think I'm muted on most of Ironclad Figures of ufology on like Twitter.
Yeah,
they have not blocked me, but they never answer when like things are like I've said things that are like so obvious. Like how about Tim Burchett? The guy is on a committee for logistics. He is oversight of what the FAA is saying on beyond line of sight drones. The guy is talking,
and he's selling UFO shirts too. He's got a UFO T-shirt.
I think he's blocked me, or I think he's muted me, so I can say all I want. He'll never see it. I don't know.
Yeah,
genius.
Yeah, I have a real problem with the echo chambers, but I get it. You know, listen, we talked about this UFO cover-up, the second one. There's two ways that these guys go about it. Either they completely and totally ignore you, or if you're loud enough and damaging enough to their stories, they will erase you from their echo chamber so that other people don't start to get wise that are sending them money or believing their nonsense, you know?
Yeah, they won't do it directly. It's aggressive, but the passive aggressive, they'll sick their dogs.
Oh, I've had a few. I got a man.
You got a few aggressives?
Oh, I got George Knapp. Oh, I've printed the email. It's hanging in my office. The email that he sent me. He didn't like my coverage of. I went and talked to the people that actually did that Bob Lazar raid. I talked to some of the FBI agents. I talked to the local sheriff, and they tell a completely different story than is portrayed, of course, by George Knapp and Jeremy Corbell to sell a documentary that had nothing to do with flying saucer fuel. It was a routine investigation. They wanted sales records. They were there for 20 minutes. If you listen to George Knapp and Jeremy Corbell, they were there all day. They searched every inch of the place. Yeah. There was 40 or 50 of them. No, there was 11 of them. And, so we reported the actual truth of that. And then I got a blistering, nasty message from George Knapp saying, I don't know what I'm talking about because I've never investigated enough. He's been doing this forever and I'm an idiot, or, essentially that I'm stupid. And I'm like, did you want to talk about the people I talked to and what they said? Because I wrote it all down, George, and he didn't want to talk about any of that.
Bob Bliskin just asked me to compare my unlisted record brief with him instead of addressing the claim that I lied.
Yeah, I heard you're getting a lot of flack lately.
He literally tried, instead of addressing the claim, he tried to compare our records of our service against each other. I was like, dude, I don't give a shit if you serve for 45 years. I don't give a shit if you're George Washington.
Yeah, or Green Beret or a Navy
You told me
SEAL
flat. It would be different. I honestly think it'd be different if he was a Green Beret because I could respect him in a way that I could relate to because I've worked with him. But it's different in the sense that when I ask someone, I want to know what the hell has convinced you so bad that you're now going after skeptical people. And he told me, well, I know some people that were involved in the topic back in 2003, and I deployed with them and I trust them. Dude, what the fuck is? Oh, damn it! I'm sorry. What is that? How are you going to dare to go after anyone if that's your information? If I question it, the scary part is, he printed our entire chat for everyone to see, and 300 some odd people agreed with him.
That's crazy.
Absolutely
crazy.
It's not like I said in the chat, I think you're full of shit and you're a liar and scumbag, or anything like that, or even said that in my post. I simply said, this guy is an intelligent asset.
You're right. And you know what, though? You got to admit, though, that some of these nutters on UFO Twitter are at least entertaining. This is the favorite thing that I saw today. I want to get your reaction. It's from Think Tank on Twitter. Says one of the senators is said to have burst into tears after seeing the 23-minute UAP footage. When can we expect to see it? And then somebody said, what's your source for this? Where did you hear this? And he says, King Milk Fart on Twitter told me. So a brand new nameless, faceless Twitter account told him that, and it must be.
No, you don't know that guy?
Gospel truth.
You don't know that guy?
Yeah, I've seen.
He's a piece of shit. Excuse my language.
A lot of people say that's your other buddy, UAP Mike. That's what people are saying.
Oh, is that it? I wouldn't doubt it. I'm sure.
Yeah, that's what I've heard.
Like him. Oh, yeah. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to interrupt you there. No, that guy is.
No, it's fine. But this kind of stuff is like I just say, oh, okay. There must be a 23-minute video that will make everybody cry because King Milkfart on Twitter said that was true. It's just
so dumb.
This is the ridiculous world we live in, and people wonder why I sometimes, to blow off steam, I dress up like these people and make fun of them, and that's because I have to. In order to stay here, I have to make fun of these people. I can't not, I can't not do it. I can't just stay here with a straight face while all this. Look at this. King Milkfart told somebody. I want to thank the super chatters, Randy Redmond. Support facts, not ladies lying. And then we had another one here. Let me thank that person. We have Joe K at 6.99 says, "Good show, guys. Thank you for everybody for their kindness, their generosity, and their support." I think we might have enough to buy. We might have enough to buy him a new pair of headphones already.
Well, thank you everyone for the chats, but I can't get over what you said.
And moderators, there's porn people in the chat. Let's get rid of the porn people because I'm not that I'm not a fan of porn, but not in the live chat.
Guys, everyone out there that's listening to this show right now, I need to tell you this. I need this to get directly in your brain. I have it on good authority that when we showed a 23-minute video of a UAP to a senator, that blood shot out of their wrist and they started to float off the ground in a stigmata. You don't believe me? Milkfart told me.
The fact that somebody would even post that and not think like, maybe I shouldn't say I heard it from Milkfart. This sounds stupid. Makes me sound stupid.
That's so
ridiculous.
Dumb. It's so dumb. I'm sorry. Listen, I'm not trying to be a total jerk, but there is something so unbelievable about the amount of people that when I ask this question to everyone I encounter on Twitter. I say, hey, what evidence have you been shown that has convinced you? Not what you believe, but what evidence have you been shown? And they always say, well, King Milkfart told me, Elizondo told me, Melon told me.
Case closed then, right?
End of story. King
Thank
Milkfart.
You, Lord Ludicrous Plaid. I was right about the laughs and a great conversation. You're great.
Is King Milkfart in Massachusetts, everyone? I'm in Massachusetts. We should all hang out and go on a paranormal investigation. Let's find King Milkfart for me.
Yeah, that's the other thing that you're going to find, especially being as critical as you are. You're going to have nameless, faceless Twitter accounts coming after you constantly. I do.
Every day.
And they're all brand new. Like, the account started July 2022.
Yeah.
And they all have some stupid name like Examiner. And then that guy gets banned. Examiner 2. Examiner 3. And I used to like argue with them, and then I'm like, I don't even know who I'm talking to. This is stupid. I could be talking to Miss Piggy for all I know. Like, I don't
think some of them are real. I think some of them are chatbots. Have you seen them eat? Have you seen it is you go to YouTube and type in Twitter chatbot and see how the kids can make them, and they're pretty much indistinguishable from a real person because they only say things they source from the internet. So if you say like.
Great.
It's impossible to tell sometimes. And obviously that we heard Elon was kind of upset, right, about all the number of bots on Twitter.
Yeah, it's amazing. You know, it was amazing to me to hear that 50% of Joe Biden's Twitter followers were fake. Somebody did a whole analysis of it. And I'm not right or left. I'm an independent, but I don't care if it was Donald Trump with 50% fake followers or Joe Biden. It's funny that the president of the United States is like, we got to have more followers, buy some or something, because I don't look important enough. It's crazy.
How did they convince Twitter to get rid of the unlike option on the presidential videos during the campaign?
Yeah, the dislike button is gone.
They were freaking thousands and thousands of dislikes.
Yeah, they were getting ratioed every time Joe Biden spoke and was on YouTube. He was getting ratioed bad. there'd be tens of thousands of dislikes and like a few thousand likes. And I don't think that they liked people seeing that. And that's funny to me, like I like the dislike button because, especially if it's a topic that I'm unsure of, like maybe I'll talk about this case. And then if I could look at the dislikes, well, I could still, but you got to go through the whole thing and look for them. And before you could just look at it and go, all right, people didn't really like this subject, this topic, or whatever. I don't know. The fact that we're not allowed to know how many people don't like what the president is saying in this country, we're heading towards something weird here,
Yeah, when it comes to the media, I will say this in a serious note. I'm an idiot, but I will say this for real. The public has never demanded more attention to certain topics than ever before. Literally chanting them in the street. And the media has been blackout, not care, we'll never talk about it, in a scary way. Like in a way that is almost like either the media is going to have to disappear as we know it, major media, or something entirely is going to have to change with humanity, because I've never seen a time in my life where the majority of people are out in the street saying, please, someone talk about this, maybe an Epstein trial, be it...
Yeah, or how about the Epstein client list? For the first time ever, somebody got arrested and convicted of child trafficking, but nobody knows who those children were trafficked to. But we know every detail of Johnny Depp and Amber Heard's private relationship stuff.
Perfect example.
It's crazy.
Sometimes I hate when a meme kind of sums it up, because people think, oh yeah, that's so stupid. That's not really the reality of it. But the reality of it is kind of true, is that everyone knows that some of the world's most elite people that pay the news 13, 20, 14, 15, 10, 9, 25, 30, $15 million a time just to cover the subject they want. For real, look how much money Bill Gates has paid to the government.
Bill Gates has put in an awful lot of money.
These people are so deeply connected to that story, and they never talked about it. Listen, this is not medieval times. This is not the time where anthropology, archaeology, and history only talks about the kings and queens of ancient Europe. This is 2022. We are the strong ones. These sick pieces of crap literally worship owl gods, run around the woods together naked, and blackmail each other into doing weird crap. And then we see that they're literally flying on the Lolita airline, and the news doesn't talk about it. That's live in the
important part of the story. Yeah, and we saw that one newscaster on a hot mic talking about how they spiked the Epstein story originally. They just spiked
for the royal family.
Yeah, probably. Yeah, it's just so they wanted to get the interviews. Yeah,
they wanted to get the interviews during the wedding. I couldn't. When I read that story, I thought, dude, we live in the most corrupt universe I can ever imagine.
Yeah, sold us out. Forget those kids. Forget about those kids getting raped.
Fuck those kids.
We gotta get an interview with the
we're
royal
just
family.
down there getting a couple massages by some. Never mind.
15-year-old girls or something. It's crazy. Yeah,
no, but
crazy.
for real.
And what's funny is that they don't, no members of the media, if you talk to any of them, if you get access to them, they don't really want to talk about why they don't cover that. I think that list is pretty important. And I'm actually shocked that I was hopeful that somebody within the court system that got access to that information would leak it. And so far, no,
Yeah. There was a couple lists that came out of corporations involved with donating to Epstein. I'm drawing a blank now what his company was called.
He had some charities or something.
Yeah. There was a long list once. Yeah. It was a long list one time, and we heard a fact checking company. I don't know who it was. I think it was owned by Reuters, Germany, whatever their name is. Sorry, I'm drawing a blank here. They basically said that there was nothing to the list. There wasn't actually people involved. These are just corporations that donated. But then we started seeing that some of these people were, at some point or another, in a room with this guy.
Yeah, we're on the island with him. I love when Bill Gates got asked about him, and he goes, well, he's dead now. Like, that doesn't excuse you from whatever you were doing because he died, bro,
That was weird as shit. Was that not weird?
That was weird, yeah.
Oh, dude, he actually, they asked him, I can't remember what led up to that, but when he said that, the way he responded was what was most damning to me, which was, He's dead now. What's more to talk about? He's dead now. It's like, did you tell someone to go kill him? Like, what are you talking about?
I had some meetings with him because he was going to give some money to my charities. And that's it, you know? And I'm like, I don't know, you know?
Whatever.
But,
yeah.
Oh, we're coming up on 2 hours, so I'm going to throw you out of here.
Thank you, man, for having me on.
What
big
are you
time.
going to be covering on your show in the coming weeks? Why don't you give everybody a sneak peek of what you're looking into and what your plans are?
To be honest, here's what I've been doing recently, and that is I'm grassrooting a conversation started by other people on plasma technologies that is basically almost indistinguishable from some of the paranormal encounters we've seen. I'll also be out in the field doing some weird esoteric shit that no one expects, but legitimately you'll see over at Strange Recon the fact that these technologies exist here on Earth. Let's stop pretending humans are stupid. Let's start recognizing that not only are we crazy, wonderful, we're also dark and clever, and we've come up with some weird stuff. So even if aliens are here, you know, there's a true story of aviation and weapons and propulsion and battlefield awareness and all types of stuff that needs to be exposed. T.D. Barnes said it best the other day, you know, not too long ago. But Strange Recon, we're just going to cover what reality is. We're going to support it by actual evidence, be it maybe anecdotal at first, but more than just that.
Oh, well, I appreciate you. I appreciate you coming here. I'm glad that we can help you over the magic numbers, and don't be a stranger. Even though you're doing the Strange Recon thing.
Seriously, thank you so much, man. You're great.
I appreciate it. I'm glad that we could give you a little.
1K, listen, it's huge.
You did. Congratulations. You did 99% of the work. We just, gave you a little push over that last hurdle, which we're glad to be able to do for somebody doing quality work.
Thank you for real, because I like you described it perfectly earlier. There's days I'd wake up and I'd be almost there, and then I'd say something that just people would share on Twitter, and I'd go down like 60 subscribers. I'm like, holy cow! So thank you so much. I appreciate having me on. I appreciate your audience contributing. Thank you everyone who followed me over from Strange Recon. Thank you for just keeping the conversation going with us and other balance of the scale. I'm not here to debunk people and ruin their old sighting they had when they were a child. I'm here to review the evidence made. I think you are. The evidence claimed is out there, and you are too. I think it's not unwise to do. It's probably the most beneficial thing for ufology to actually follow the evidence.
Yeah, I'm with you, and I'm glad that you're out there. It makes me feel a little less alone being the asshole in the room.
Will you come on my show sometime in the near future? Can I
yeah, absolutely.
That'd be great.
I don't do much in the afternoon or the morning, so that'd be great timing for me too.
Perfect.
Let's do it.
I'll email you. Thank you, sir. I appreciate having me on.
All right, thank you. You have a good night. All right, friends, there we go. At least I know there's somebody else out there that cares about evidence, that cares about the fact that so many of these people are just. I don't even want to go any further. I'm just glad that there's at least some other people out there that are looking for evidence, that are holding people accountable, that are saying, not so fast, Mr. Research by Proclamation, or not so fast. Who told you that? King Milkfart. That's ridiculous, We want to thank Dennis for a kind and generous PayPal donation of $4.44, who said, Steven, I just purchased Mortal Kombat 10 XL for my PS4. Yeah, I'm not a rich dude, but it does feature talking Leatherface and some fighting aliens, just like Howdy Doody podcast. Kind of convenient, right? Anyways, great work, Steven. Keep hunting them down. Well, thank you for your kindness, your generosity, and your kind support of the show. For those unaware, we're a viewer-supported show, and down there in the description of the video is all the ways that you can help us by throwing a few bucks in our hat. The other way that you can help us is, of course, to like, comment, subscribe, and share these videos. It really does help. And finally, for those listening in audio podcast land, I want to remind you that you're missing half the fun. We love and appreciate all you audio listeners, but we want you to come and be more a part of the show, because we record the audio podcast here on YouTube, our home base. So go on over to YouTube, hit the search button, and just search for Truth Seekers, one word. Look for me, the strange guy with the sunglasses, and then hit that subscribe button, smash that notification bell, and you will know when we're doing a live taping for for the podcast, and you can come here and take part in our interactive live chats. You hear me taking questions and comments from our live chat participants. It's a fun time. We've got a great group here, and you are most welcome. So again, go on over to YouTube, Truth Seekers in the search bar, one word, Truth Seekers. You'll find me, the weirdo with the sunglasses. Come on over here, subscribe, and hit the notification bell so that you know when we're doing a live taping. Usually our shows have been 9 p.m. Eastern time, Monday through Thursday, or sometimes Monday through Friday, depending on what's going on with me. I will be at the cabin this weekend. Now, I have to mention that tomorrow night is a special circumstance and situation. My wife, who works in accounting, it's quarter end, she tries explaining stuff to me. I just hear the part I want to. I have man hearing. So tomorrow night, my wife probably won't be home from work until 9 or 10 p.m. So if there is a show tomorrow, it's going to be at 10 or 11 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. There will be a show because I've got to go digest the latest garbage information and backpedaling and excuses given by one Linda Molten Owl of Earth Files. I have to see what she said tonight. I didn't get to hear any of it because we were broadcasting at the same time that she was. I want to hear what she has to say now that I just can't believe that she's saying anything other than these pictures are fake. Truth Seekers and Stephen Cambion proved that. They even interviewed the artist, and I'm sorry that this happened. Done. I can't believe that she's continuing with this nonsense. She's become a ridiculous clown at this point, and that's sad. A lot of people used to have a lot of respect, and people I know that are doing their own shows. Many of those people, like me, used to read her books and watch her on TV and had a certain respect for her. This is not worthy of respect, what she's doing right now. This is only worthy of mockery. It is such a joke to run with fake alien pictures, and then all the truth comes out about who created the pictures and when, and there's all this evidence that the pictures are fictional representations of aliens for a fictional web series. Now she went on a show tonight and made up new excuses and new stories surrounding these fake alien pictures. I can't believe it. A lot of people can't believe it either. Tomorrow night, probably 10 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, we'll be covering the update to that story, and we have new information which I'm going to be sharing with you. Would you believe, my friends, that we found another artist whose work she took and claimed was real when it was a computer-generated animation of a flying machine? Yeah, and that happened quite some time ago, but we're going to bring it anyway, and we're going to interview that person. His name is Chris. We're going to interview Chris about the artwork of his that she used, and it's a great story because now we've got her 3 times using fictionally created artwork that was 100% fiction, not real, claiming that it was real proof of aliens or UFOs or whatever. And to me, if you get caught doing something like that one time, okay, accept responsibility. You made a mistake, move on. But now we're going to have her 3 times, count them, friends, 1, 2, 3 times using an artist's work, in each case without their permission, to generate money for herself, telling fake stories about aliens. I think that's inexcusable. And in my opinion, and again, this is just my opinion, I'm not a lawyer or law enforcement, I have to check with them. But in my opinion, you do something like that 3 times, and it shows a pattern of deception and deceit and rises to the level of a criminal matter. That's my opinion. And by the way, we're going to be reaching out to somebody in law enforcement to try to clarify, for me at least, and for all of us really. I'll share that with you, my friends. I want to talk to a prosecutor or a law enforcement officer, and I need somebody to explain to me how a woman is able to use completely 100% fake alien photos or animations and claim that they're real evidence of aliens, and then make thousands and thousands of dollars. Somebody needs to explain to me how that is not a criminal act. I don't understand how it's not criminal to do that. In this latest case, she was sent all of the information, overwhelming evidence from us that those images were created by an artist in 2008 for a fictional web series. They're not real. He's even sent us pictures of the in progress works. Like, here's half the alien head, and we took a picture of it before we stretched it and created the rest of the body with CGI. And there's witnesses to him creating the images. Other people worked on the web series with him who saw him creating the images. The fact that she doesn't care about overwhelming proof and evidence that those pictures are artist rendering fakes of pictures of aliens, it just boggles me. I don't know what to do with this. What am I supposed to do? And people want me to cover what she's talking about next, so we're going to, but I got to get off of this crazy train, because I live in the real world, Linda Molten Owl, where you're not supposed to be allowed to just use fake pictures of aliens to con people for money with your fake stories. That's where I'm at. That's where I find myself, friends. So what can I say? I do want to thank each and every one of you who went over there to Strange Recon and helped them over the hurdle. That would be many times now we have helped people over that final hurdle. It's my way of paying it forward and giving back, because a very few people helped me to get to the 1,000 subscribers, but at least somebody was there to help me, and I truly appreciated that. I like to karmically pay those karmic debts to others, and listen, if you get a chance to, I would advise you tomorrow. This is just my personal, philosophy or way of dealing with life and karma. Tomorrow, if you get a chance, do a senseless act of kindness for somebody. Pay for the person behind you in the drive-thru, or something like that, right? It's good for your karma, and I believe it's good for your soul. I'm glad that we can help him. He's working really hard. He's not accepting bull. And I know a little more now why many people said, hey, he's a lot like you. You got to talk to him. He is. And I'm glad there's some other people out there that aren't just accepting this mass delusion that other people are selling. So, and I want to thank each and every one of you for your kindness, your generosity, and your support. I want to mention to the Patreon supporters that tonight I will be uploading, and to the YouTube channel members here, they always get a sneak peek. So tomorrow we'll be debuting during the live broadcast a few production videos about this Linda Molten Owl situation, and some of them are great. So I'm going to upload those, and you'll get a sneak peek if you're a Patreon supporter or a channel member, and then they'll be public tomorrow night. I'm sorry. Usually I try to get them to the supporters a little bit earlier than that, but we're on a tight schedule this week. I also want to mention that our previous, I don't want to call it a slump, but you all are aware that I took 3 weeks off, and it seemed like our numbers took a nosedive when I came back just for being off for 3 weeks. But it appears that situation has rectified itself. I'm not going to worry about the numbers anymore. We're going to continue to do great work here. We're going to break stories. We're going to get to witnesses and evidence like no one else is doing here, because that's the way we like to do it, friends. We like to bring you that interview nobody else gets. I'm proud of the work we did on this Linda Molten Owl story. I think that was excellent work. And we're going to continue to just keep doing work like that. And numbers be damned, but I did notice it. I'm human. I go, what the hell happened? There's half the people in the live chat that there was before I went on vacation. And it wasn't really a vacation. It was more like a medical thing. Yeah. But it looks like that situation has resolved itself, which I'm happy about. So thank you all. Maybe people didn't know I was back, and now they know, or whatever. I don't know what. I can't control this YouTube numbers thing and this algorithm. all we can do here is the very best work that we can do and hope that it all pans out. And that's what we're going to continue to do. I want to thank our chat room moderators, B. Baker and Sixth Sense, and as well as thanking Spooky for the artwork and the edits and being a contributing producer here. That's what we're going to call Spooky, contributing producer. I can produce this show alone, but it's hell of a lot better with help from Spooky and others pitching in to make the show better. And I'm thankful for that. So that's all I got for you, friends. I got to go listen to this Linda Molten Owl nonsense. We'll be back tomorrow night, 10 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And I hope you'll be with us to hear the update on this ridiculous Linda Molten Owl story. But then after tomorrow, we got to hop off this crazy train and move on to other more important stories. So that's it, friends. Until next time, my name is Stephen Cambion. Good night, and God bless all of you.